Hi there, this is Sheena Rowlands and today I'm sharing with you my latest layout for Hey Little Magpie. For this layout I'm using the 49er Market range Vintage Artistry Serenity. So part of their charm is that some bits you can cut out yourself, so I've done that off camera, and I'm going to use this 12 by 12 paper called Hidden Whispers as the base of my layout. So I'm using another wedding photo. I think you might see a few of these this year. And I've got the idea that I'd like to create some sort of frame around the centre photograph. Now you may see that there's a photograph and I put it on top of some white card. Actually, it's because I'm debating what size photograph to actually use. So the white would be a 4x3. The one that you can see is a 3.5 by 2.5 inch photo. So I think I do actually go with the bigger one. I was just waiting for some photo paper to arrive so I could print it in a bigger size. So I've got lots of bits and pieces in this tray from this range. I've taken some of the laser cut pieces out of their backing. I've also added a few buttons as well, just that match in with the colours there to this tray, just to so I know what I'm working with. The word happy that you can see there, that's from Hey Little Magpie as well, so that's really lovely and definitely makes the final cut. So I'm looking at using some of the smaller pieces from the ephemera set and the remnants set as the basis for these areas around the photograph. So the idea is I'm basically creating some like mini clusters to work their way around, so that they don't detract from the photograph, but they just enhance it. So there's a little bit of interest in each area, but it's not too much. I'm struggling there trying to decide what to have at the top. I quite like that big remnant piece, but I'd need to cut it down. And in the end, I choose one of the pieces that I've cut from the bits you can cut out yourself. And I'm just having a look through now at the rub-ons. I do love the rub-ons from 49er Market, and I decide I'm going to use one of the words on one of the ephemera pieces. So this says, "You are enough." And I think that fits really quite nicely on that piece there. So I've put it with its backing at the moment, just while I figure out where I want things to go. I particularly like this laser cut piece of lace at the bottom there. So I bring in some ribbons and I'm going to actually feed a ribbon through it. I love all the bits that are in this range, but I just feel like maybe I need some more textures on here. So I've already got some wood, and if I can bring in some ribbon, I think that could really help. Also, I want to make sure that these pieces are lifted off the background essentially. So I've bought in some inks and I will be doing inking some edges later on, because I think that would also help lift the pieces off the background paper. Now I could have put them onto a white, but I felt that white would be too harsh, and the piece of paper behind them I thought was really lovely, and I think it just goes with a nice soothing feel, and I didn't want anything too stark or too big a contrast. So I'm definitely using the shades that you would find in the range. So I'm just using some inks there. You can barely see it on the edges, but I'm hoping it will help just lift them up a little bit. So I've got a pale grey, a brown, and then there's a blue as well. So depending on what colour the base card is, I've stuck to a colour that was pretty much near it, just to add that little bit round the edges. As you can see, I'm also tapping off the ink on a piece of scrap paper just so that I don't leave any harsh lines. I've been using brushes to apply inks generally recently, but I've gone back to one of these Ranger tool just for doing the edges. So I've decided I want to create a couple of shaker pockets. So I'm just adding some red strong tape to the back of this frame, and instead of using acetate to trap the sequins, I'm going to use some tulle or netting. So I cut a square, stick it down onto the red tape, and then on the back I just trim off any excess of the tulle, and then I apply another layer of the red line tape. I'm going to do this twice, but only one on camera. So I've cut another piece ready to go over the top. So I peel off the red tape, and from some sequins that I've sorted out from my crazy box of mixed colours, I've got some blues and some greys and some silvers, some whites, and I just add a few sequins on top of the tulle, facing them downwards towards, because I'm looking at the back of them at the moment, aren't I? So I've turned the sequins over, I've added a piece of tulle over the top, made sure it was tight, and I'm now trimming around that again with my scissors. And that is how to do a shaker pocket using tulle. And they still move, but they don't all fall to the bottom. They seem to stick to the tulle a little bit. And I made a second one with the frame that was there on the right. Also, I think you'll find that when you photograph a layout, that if you've used tulle instead of acetate, you find it's not as shiny. So actually you don't get the glare back when you take a photograph. I brought in some natural coloured twine, and I've got a button there on the top left, so I've just added some twine to that. I think I've got another button somewhere, and I'll come back and add that again. So I decided it's time to start sticking things down. I want to add a little bit of height, so I bring in some foam, and I'm using some foam pads. So I may use some foam sheets for some of them. I sometimes forget about it and just end up sticking lots of foam pads on the back of things. So I'm using a bit of foam here. So I'm now actually thinking of starting to put it all together. And I do like a little bit of dimension. I don't mind how many layouts I get in an album. So I do like to stack things up a little. So while I slowly but surely start to stick the base layers down, I would really recommend that you check out this range at Hey Little Magpie. There's also some new ranges by 49 and Market that have just appeared in the shop as well. So lots and lots of choice, plus lots of things from American Crafts and other manufacturers. So definitely a one-stop shop. Lots of embellishments too, like these wood veneers. Definitely worth checking out. So my hands are still looking for bits and pieces just to add, just to make these clusters a little bit more embellished. So I'm just adding a bit of foam to this other shaker. This will just be stuck down on its own with the flowers over the top. I want some of the areas to actually connect with each other, so they're not complete like separate islands floating around. So I am altering it a little bit as I stick things down if I feel it's necessary, moving them out to the side or bringing them in towards the photograph, depending on how it's starting to look. But I am generally sticking a lot of the bits down as I go. And if you've watched any of my videos before, you'll know that actually that's quite unusual for me to be making decisions this quickly. That like postage stamp edge, that's off the laser cut sheet, and actually it's the wrong way up. The dark blue is actually the backing, but I thought I did like the dark, and I think by having some dark in 3 or 4 places around the photograph, that draws your eye. I do try not to repeat things. I wouldn't say I go out of my way initially to repeat things. Find it's something that happens more like by habit, but actually I know that it does make a good format. So at the moment I've got 3 sets of leaves or flowers, say. So that it all helps the way your eye travel around a page, I believe. So that's the sort of way that my mind thinks. So I'm just adding some words to this bottom right cluster. It says your love is priceless, and I had a couple of gems on that as if it was like bradded down. So a little bit more dimension, but still all very much in colours that are suited to this range. So I don't know about you, but when I find that I do things with clusters, I always find that some of the clusters I like much better than others. So I'm going to carry on and stick them down, but the one at the bottom left is not something that I'm really liking. So I actually take off the ribboned laser cut lace initially, and then I'm going to alter it slightly. So start to concentrate on the others, because if I can get those done and stuck down, then I've got less to think about. So I really like that one with the button, and I've left the string on the button long, and I like that. So I'm then going to put this other frame on the top right one, and then add the Hey Little Magpie wood veneer over the top with some foam pads. I think that sits there really nicely. I am going to add some leaves to that one as well, but I won't stick them down at this stage until I get that next photo printed. So that would just make it easier for me to slip the photo into place. But that's kind of how I want it to look, but it will definitely overhang the photograph. But I can stick the butterfly down, so I go ahead and do that. So yeah, you can see there's a triangle of the dark blue as well as like the foliage. So I've now brought in a longer piece of the lace with the ribbon, and I'm now going to add that to the bottom one. I found the shorter one, I don't know, it just didn't sit well with me, and I really wanted to include that. So I've now printed the photograph bigger. It means that I can actually finish this off now. This flower cluster there, I've just trimmed down some of the white around it. There was a little bit too much standing out a little bit, so I've done that, and now I can get the leaves on above the photograph. I've added a word phrase to the gem sequin pocket on the left. It says live your dream, and that's what I use for the title of the layout. So I'm just adding that with a little bit of a foam, and it overhangs the photo. I will add some journaling to that bottom left off camera, but this is the layout all finished and all stuck down. Really like the way this looks. This is the finished image. Thank you so much for watching. Give this video a thumbs up. Do check out the Hey Little Magpie store. Do subscribe to their and my channel if you would like. And I hope to see you here real soon. Thanks so much for watching. Bye for now.